In this episode of the Project Management Podcast, we are going to see what it is like to take the PMP exam with lots and lots of lessons learned. Hello and welcome back to the Project Management Podcast at pm-podcast.com. This is the live stream for episode 464, and I'm Cornelius Fichtner. Thank you for everybody who's joining me live at this time, and thank you also to all my faithful and loyal subscribers listening and watching this episode later on. Today, we look at the PMP exam. To be precise, we are going to review insights, tips, and tricks for the PMP exam that I have gathered while reading literally about 200 lessons learned from those who have recently taken their PMP exam. And quick note for you, if you are not actually attending the live stream live with me right now here, but if you are instead listening to the recording of this podcast episode. Now, this is a video episode. If you are using a podcast app to play this on your phone, tablet, and you're only getting the audio, then do look for the play video episode link in the show notes of your app. Or if you cannot see that link, then you can just go to pm-podcast.com/464 and simply stream the video live from the website. All right. Learning objectives for today. At the end of this episode, I want you to be able to describe what to expect on the 2021 PMP exam. Now, when it comes to the PMP exam, I have been a PMP trainer and coach since about 2008. So I have been doing this for over a decade. And since the PMP exam has changed at the beginning of this year, I've been reading a lot of these lessons learned there. And this is what we are going to review today, all those findings. And this here is the agenda. So we are going to hear from those who have actually taken the 2021 PMP exam. And you can see there in the sub-bullet, I say lessons learned number 1 to lesson number ? Now, this presentation has 119 slides, okay? So, I don't know how many we are actually going to be able to get through. But I can also tell you that this is the 4th time that I'm doing this. So it's not the first time that we are looking at lessons learned. But I have new sections today. We're going to look at 5-6 new sections. New one about COVID, question content, question language, self-doubt, and the Pearson VUE tutorial. And at the end, I do have take action to pass your PMP exam. And we got the first comment here from Ian Flores. I was scheduled to write the exam in September. So Ian, I can help you with that because you were probably scheduled to take the exam, the old 2020 exam, and now it's 2021. And you're wondering, well, what can I do? I studied in 2020. Now I have to take the 2021 exam. At the end, I do have a section where I talk about exactly that and where I can help you understand what you can do to, shall we call it, upgrade yourself to the 2021 exam. So keep watching. This is coming. But you may have heard from my voice here, 119 slides. I'm not sure if we can get through all of the lessons learned that I have today. I will do my best and get all of that information to you. If you are looking for a course, then may I recommend myself. We do have upcoming PMP exam prep courses. April 17th and 19th, we have 2 starting. And then in May, we have May 3rd, 4th, and 8th. They're all different. We have 5 Saturdays. We have 1 weekers. We have Tuesday and Thursdays. We have weekend seminars. So that's what we can offer. After that, if you want to take a course in June, July, August, we have a waiting list for that as well. And if you register either today or tomorrow, then we do offer a $200 discount for the two most closest courses. So the two April courses here, April 17 to 19, there is a discount coupon available for $200. So you can join those two classes. Okay. And now let us get started with one of the new sections that I have, COVID vaccine. Yes, I actually found some feedback regarding COVID vaccine and the PMP exam. And it's this here. This particular candidate says, do not get your COVID shot the day before any exam. I had my vaccination appointment rescheduled by the provider from the day after to the day before, and it kept it. I mean, come on, it's very hard these days to get an appointment for a COVID vaccine. I understand totally that he or she did this, but had night sweats, chills, hardly slept a wink. So I can only imagine how hard it must have been to go through the exam. Michelle asks, will you be taking questions about the classes at the end of the lessons learned? Michelle, go ahead and just type them in, and I will do my best to bring up your questions and answer them as we go through the presentation. Next section. So that was the COVID question types. Let's start with that. You may be aware in the past, 2020, PMI had a very simple format. Question, 4 answers, A, B, C, D. Now select the most appropriate answer. Well, those days are gone. Now there are multiple question types. We still have the A, B, C, Ds, but we also have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you have to select 3, 2 that may be correct. There are drag and drops. There are point and click. There are fill in the blank. So there are quite a number of question types that you have to be aware of. First one here, I had 4 question type. Matching was by far the easiest. So that's when you have to drag and drop from the right to the left, maybe put a process into the correct order. Selecting multiple answers was kind of tricky, but not very difficult. That's the one where you have 8 answers and they say, now 3 of these are correct. Select the 3 that were correct. And also there were questions where you had to click on a chart. So that's point and click, for example, an S-curve. Where is most money spent in this graphic? And then you have to click into that curve and say, this is where most money is being spent. All right. Ian says, I recently passed the CAPM last month. Congratulations, Ian. As to how difficult is the PMP exam? Ian, we're going to get to that. Question difficulty is a topic, is a section that we have, but we're still in the question format. In terms of the new format questions, this candidate here says, I got matching and multiple response. Let's say about 20 questions overall were like that. And ignore the second one here for fill in the blank questions. We'll get back to the fill in the blank questions in just a second here. All right, this one here is, there were several drag and drop questions, 1 click on the diagram questions, many choose 3, choose 2. And in the real PMP exam, when you have, choose 3, choose 2, you cannot continue unless you choose the correct number. So you have to choose 3, you have to choose 2. You cannot say next, go to the next question without selecting the appropriate number here. Now, back to the fill in the blank questions. Fill in the blank questions means instead of selecting A, B, C, D, you have to type in A, B, C, D. But here's the thing. I see fewer and fewer of those. Okay. And it seems to be that PMI is actually starting to remove those fill in the blanks. Okay. Can't be 100% sure, no official statement from PMI, but based on the lessons learned that I am seeing, fewer and fewer where you have to type A, B, C, D versus click A, B, C, D. Also, we had this one here, seen once only, somebody who said a really weird drag and drop question style, where you had like 2 on the right, 1 on the left, and then you had to drag one over, you had multiple of those, and it's really hard to explain. Even he couldn't or she couldn't explain it to me when I followed up and said, hey, how exactly is this? So there seems to be some sort of a secondary, potentially weird drag and drop question style that PMI is working on. Question type. I mean, not question style, because question style, that's our next segment right here. So now we looked at the question types. Now we're looking at the question style. In the past, PMI had to take a lot of discussions, shall we call it, about the fact that your questions are not real life. They are, blue sky, green grass. They don't represent reality. It seems very much that has changed and is changing, because many people are saying this, like this one here. PMI is really trying to measure how much you are able to apply the knowledge to real life scenarios. Okay, all this here. Another factor is my real life experience in managing projects and people. Many people said, your experience isn't going to help you on the PMP exam. You have to memorize. You have to do it the PMI way. That seems to be gone. Yes, you will need to wear a PMI hat, as you can read here, but this person found the PMI hat is not that different from what a PM project manager really needs to do in managing real life projects. Okay. Also, when it comes to memorization will not help you pass the exam. There are a lot of trainers, invested a lot into teaching you to memorize. Don't do that. What you really need is a good foundation, the stamina and critical thinking to sit and answer questions for 4 hours. And this is something that I have done for the last several years. I kept telling my students since about 2016, 2015, stop memorizing. Understand how these things fit together. Understand it from a 10,000-foot, really top level, C-level executive understanding of how project management works. That will help you a lot more on the exam and also on real live projects. Very important to know that. And this one here, never at any time did I feel, oh yeah, no brainer, I totally know this question. So this takes us back to the question from who asked that about the difficulty. Sorry, wait, I'm messing this up. Yeah, so about the question difficulty, it is a difficult exam, right? Some people say it's easier. Some people say it's more difficult. I think the question vagueness is what really gets people. And we'll get to the vagueness in just a moment. And this is something that we struggle a bit with. PMI has short questions on the exam. And in many of the simulators that you see out there, we have to give a little bit more information. The questions in many simulators, many free exam sample questions you can take, they're a bit longer, a little bit more explanation in there. Whereas on the real exam, much shorter, vaguer, less information in regards to what this is all about. But again, it wasn't a walk in the park. Daunting questions, although very similar to the Prepcast, that's my exam simulator. Tweaks, it felt too easy. Sometimes the questions were hard and sometimes the questions were like, this is so easy. Am I misunderstanding something? Right? Yeah. And let me talk about this one here. You'll hear me say exam simulator quite a bit during this presentation, because I truly feel that having a good exam simulator is the #1 critical factor to help you pass your PMP exam. Yes, I have my own exam simulator. I would appreciate it if you bought mine, but Rita Mulcahy has a simulator. Dan Ryan has a simulator. PM Training has a simulator. Everybody out there has a simulator. Pick the simulator that fits your budget. Pick the simulator that you feel most comfortable with. But do pick a simulator. And then you can say this here as well. The simulator consisted of 51% of my exam success. Okay. Now then, next, new topic, language. And by language, I literally mean English versus another language. this candidate here, like me, not a native English speaker. I grew up in Switzerland. German is my native language, Swiss German actually. And this person says, I did not understand some questions, but I could understand the context and answer the question correctly. Okay, so I'm currently learning Spanish, okay, and I'm listening to Radio Mitre from Argentina, and I understand about every 10th, 12th word that they are saying. I hope this person understood more than only every 10th or 12th word on the exam, okay? However, they passed with 80, 80, 80, so above target in all cases. So it is possible to pass the PMP exam in English, even if it is your second language. But did you know that the PMP exam is available in other languages? This is a screenshot from the PMP handbook. And as you can see, 16 languages: Arabic, English, Spanish, German, Turkish, Korean, Japanese, Italian, Hebrew, right? So you can take the PMP exam in this in the language of your choice. And here's my question for you, okay? If you chose to do that, if you took the exam in 2021 in a different language, was everything in your chosen language? Or was the user interface still in English? Like, so, on the screen, you can see the question is in Spanish, the answers are in Spanish, but the next button still says next and not, what would it be? I think Proxima, right? Or previous and things like that, right? That's a question that I have for everybody. So if you can tell me, I would really like to know this, because this is one thing that I have not yet been able to find out. Is the user interface in English, or is the user interface also in the language that you take the exam in? Ian, are you saying Spanish, the user interface is in Spanish, or are you just happy that I'm studying Spanish? Right? Fristadt says it is in English. So Fristadt, you probably must have taken it in another language then. Okay, so you're saying it is, the user interface is in English. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Okay. Next, question vagueness. And I think this is where the difficulty of the questions on the real PMP exam comes in. The questions may not be necessarily difficult. The questions are vague, okay? Most of the time, this lessons learned says, you can easily eliminate 1 to 2 answers out of the bat, but then, like in real life, you will have to choose between a good answer and the best answer, okay? So there is always this, is it C or D? Could be C, could be D. Which one do I take, right? So there's always this certain uncertainty that you may get. And then we have this one here. This is a student who had used the exam simulator from Rita Mulcahy and says, I was genuinely shocked at the difficulty and seeming vagueness on the real exam. And let me be absolutely clear. This is not because they were using Rita Mulcahy's simulator. This is just the simulator they used. They would have had exactly the same experience with our simulator as well, right? Simulators are less vague. The real PMP exam is seriously vague. On the exam simulator, this person says 15% of the questions I was uncertain. On the real exam, about 90% I was uncertain. So just the other way around, right? Almost 85% they were clear. Yeah, I know this question, superb. On the exam, it's like 90%. I have no idea if I've chosen the real answer or not. Okay, yeah. Next, the questions were mostly situational, and you had to basically pick the best option out of the available ones, even though in real life, those may not be the option and decisions you would make as a project manager. Okay, so again, sometimes it is a little bit green grass, blue sky kind of situation. If you come to the point where you say, yeah, I'm honestly not sure which one could be the best, gut feeling. Go with your instinct. You know this, you have studied hard, and you should know what the answer is based on your understanding of the material, which takes us straight to Michelle's question here in the comments. How much in-depth training will you receive for each knowledge area? Is this in the course that you mean? I would say that today's courses, Michelle, they do not really focus on the knowledge area so much. Instead, they focus more on the three domains: people, process, and business environment. So this is kind of where the exam is going to. You're still going to have to read the PMBOK Guide 6th edition and understand the knowledge areas, but the training courses today are beginning to switch over from knowledge areas to the domains. Some training courses even follow the exam content outline and follow the tasks in the exam content outline. So more and more over time, you will see knowledge area focused training disappear from the PMP exam training courses. We're still in the vagueness section here. Again, in general, the question info was shorter than the prepcast, the simulator, and more vague. Okay, so be prepared on your exam for vagueness. If you take this PMP exam and you're surprised about vagueness, then yeah, you haven't listened to what I've just been saying for the last 5 minutes. Be prepared, be ready for that. Question content is the next section that we have. And when it comes to question content, it literally means what to expect in the question. What do the questions talk about? What is in them? Okay. Here I have to first of all state good news. Okay, because everyone respects the certification application agreement, which states, furthermore, I agree not to discuss, debrief, or disclose in any manner the specific content of PMI examination questions and answers to any individual. What I'm doing here today is I'm giving you generic information about the PMP exam. Nothing that I'm telling you today is really secret, okay? I am not going to disclose any real details. Oh, there was a question that was formulated as follows, okay? Not going to do that. And the good news is not a single lessons learned that I have read did that. Everybody respects this statement here. Nobody goes into specifics. Everybody stays very high level in their lessons learned. Okay, wait a second. For whatever reason here, this is not continuing. There we go. Okay, something's not quite right with my PowerPoint presentation here. Okay, so question content. Many questions are designed around the team. New team members, junior team members, conflict in teams, managing difficult team members, customer management, and conflict resolution, and people management. And this is kind of what you have to expect and what you should have a good understanding about as you are taking the PMP exam, as you're studying for the PMP exam. Self-organizing concepts is using questions as much as the servant leader concept. Be mindful, do not go with the answer when it's a team to get help from outside, and go with them really carefully. Yes, so if we're talking about servant leadership concept, self-organizing teams, they resolve problems themselves, they do not escalate, they do not go outside to find help unless it's a total, messy conflict that they just cannot resolve. They do it themselves. Here, 90% of my questions were scenario-based. For example, something happens. What should the project manager do next, first? And this covers all topics that you could have, processes you should follow, what the document is next, people, personnel management. So not really anything that should come as a surprise, because much of what we do as a project manager, well, this is it. Conflict management. What do I do now? What do I do next? How do I manage this difficult person? How do I support my team? These are all questions that you as a project manager ask yourself every single day that you are at the office, home office these days. Understand the role of the project manager, the product owner, team members, stakeholders in Agile Hybrid, right? So you really need to understand these roles of these people. There is a lot of focus on these on the PMP exam. Then we have situational questions, stakeholder communication, scope requirements, team members, top level issues, next steps, what should have been done. So all of that, big focus on these particular topics here. And you should make sure that you understand those, that you have the appropriate training before you head into the exam on these. But as you are in the exam, undoubtedly, this here is going to happen. Self-doubt. It is not unusual to read a lesson learned from somebody who says this: don't think about pass or fail when you're in the exam. Focus on the questions. Put yourself in the scenario. After the first third, this person says, I started to think about, how am I going to tell my boss that I failed? And how would I tell my friends that I failed? Because self-doubt was creeping in. That distracted me. So don't think about anything other than the question you are answering at the time. Stay focused. Very similar, this one here. You will feel like you failed on almost every single question. Okay, I hope it's not almost every question. But at question number 180, when you thought your pockets were about to be a couple of $100 lighter because you're going to have to purchase a second exam here, and you're embarrassed to tell your family and all the hard work you put in, and you feel alone and you feel very cold in as you are taking the exam, and then the magic word, congratulations, shows up on the screen. Right, so what do we learn from these two self-doubt lessons learned? Well, very simple. Expect a point on the PMP exam where self-doubt creeps in. At that point, remember me saying this: breathe in, breathe out, continue. And don't forget, you have to take each question one at a time. Don't suddenly, start to fret and let the despair get to you, right? Don't think about this cumulatively, right? You really have no idea if you answered all these questions right or wrong. Answer a question, move to the next. Answer a question, move to the next. Don't let it get you down. Don't let the self-doubt creep in. Don't let the self-doubt make your exam experience, go into a black hole, into a downward spiral. Okay. And with that, positive topic out of the way, let us move on to the exam content outline. Now, if you do not know this, the exam content outline, that's the policy of the PMP exam. The exam content outline is a document about 20 pages long, and it describes exactly what is on the exam and what PMI can ask you about. It doesn't specifically say what's not on the exam, but basically, if it's not in the exam content outline, it's not on the exam. Okay, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is this right here, this lesson learned. This person says, there was a question that referenced personality indicators. I never saw anything about this tool in any of my studying. Now, if this person had known about the exam content outline and had read the exam content outline, they would have learned, oh, the exam content outline does mention personality indicators. So PMI can ask you about personality indicators on the exam. I have never heard of it. What is a personality indicator, right? And if that person had done that, then they would have known about it. And they would have said, okay, I need to learn about this. So what do you need to do? Here is my tip for you. Review and highlight the exam content outline tasks. Look for PMP exam content outline, Okay, and I think I even have a link for you. Wait, http://pm-prepcast.com/PMP outline. There you go. I think I typed this in correctly from memory. Okay, so in the chat, I'm now sending you a link. This takes you to the PMP exam content outline. Okay, and this is a PDF document printed. Take 3 highlighters, green, yellow, and red. And you already know where I'm going with this, right? Read through the exam content outline. Each item in the exam content outline that you know, oh, I know about this. I had training about that. Green, 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 green. Yeah, I should know about this. I heard about this. I'm not so sure about it. Yellow. And then the ones where you go, I've never heard of this. What is a personality indicator? Red. So you know, okay, I got to focus on the red ones first. I got to learn about the red ones and make sure that I understand that because it wasn't in my training. Big topic is next, Agile. Why do I say big topic? Simple. Agile dominates lessons learned. So out of the 200 lessons learned that I have read, 201 talked about Agile, right? There is not a single lesson learned out there where the term Agile, hybrid, and how important Agile is for this new exam was not mentioned, okay? So Agile dominates the lessons learned quite clearly, okay? All right, so that means you have to read the Agile part of the PMBOK guide, as well as the tailoring and hybrid projects. So in the PMBOK guide, 6th edition, in every knowledge area, in the introduction to each knowledge area, you'll find Agile considerations. You find some tailoring of of Agile and hybrid projects. And I believe in the back of the PMBOK guide as well, there is tailoring considerations, a whole section. So you definitely want to do that. But you also want to read the Agile practice guide. We'll get back to the Agile practice guide in a bit. Yeah, make sure you know how to move in Agile, change requests, difficult people conflicts, motivation, team skill sets, a little bit of budget questions, right? But you need to know how Agile works, what the roles are and the responsibilities of people in an Agile environment, okay? You need a good knowledge of Agile and Scrum methodologies, roles and responsibilities for players within the team, okay? And this one here is why I say you not only have to read the Agile practice guide, which by the way comes with the PMBOK guide. Let me show you this quickly here. So let me go full screen here. So yeah, so here we have the PMBOK guide, right? You want to read the Agile sections here in the PMBOK guide, but as part of the PMBOK guide, you're also going to get the Agile practice guide, okay? This is significantly smaller and thinner than the PMBOK guide, but if you buy the printed version, PMBOK guide 6th edition, it comes with it. It's in the same shrink wrap, and if you download the PDF from the PMI website, it's part of the same PDF document. So you need to read this. Now, actually, you don't need to read it. You need to study it, and you need to study it twice, okay? You really have to know this. This is quite important for the PMP exam, but because PMI does reference Scrum a bit, you want to read the Scrum guide as well. And you can find the Scrum guide at scrumguides.org. Again, I'm typing this into http:// typing this into the chat as we speak here, or as I speak rather. And you can go there and you can download that from here, okay, and look at it. All right. Next, Agile, full of Agile questions, no Scrum, Kanban, retrospective, leadership styles, how to implement, how to start Agile, how to move from predictive to Agiles. Yeah, so Agile is really important. You have to really know this. That's why I said you have to study the Agile practice guide twice. You cannot do it without this. And here is another one, right, about the exam simulator and the importance of an exam simulator, and how, in our case in particular, we explain why an answer is correct, why an answer is incorrect, right? And that helps you clarify any doubts that you may have about the answer choices and why you may have chosen the wrong answer right there. Okay. And again, not just our simulator, this is, any simulator will help, but what we know from our simulator is this one here. This is a really interesting statistic, but it's kind of a little bit of a dud because we have found that PMI ACP students, so students who are preparing for PMI's Agile exam, are better at answering Agile questions than PMP students. Now, you can only ask so much about Agile in an exam simulator. So what we have done is we have taken certain questions from our PMI ACP simulator and we have copy-pasted them into our PMP simulator. I mean, a sprint retrospective is a sprint retrospective, no matter whether you're preparing for the PMP exam or the ACP exam, right? Question is exactly the same. Okay, so that's what we did. And now when we're running these statistics, we can clearly see that the questions that are the same in both, PMPs have a lot harder time than ACPs. We got two numbers here. So two questions, first one at the top, second one at the bottom. You can see that 72% of ACP students answered that one correctly, 48% only PMP. ACP students answered 67% correctly on the second one and 36% from PMP. So that translates to a simple statement. PMP candidates really have a hard time with Agile because Agile has only recently been added to the PMP exam. What does that mean? Study the Agile practice guide twice. Okay, there we go. Study it twice, please. You really need to do that. But there is more to Agile. There is also hybrid. Okay, hybrid is a mix when you have predictive and Agile in the same one. Many questions about traditional product management team moving to Agile or hybrid methodologies. And you must determine the best practices to do so. Okay. And this person here, next person says 75 to 85% of the questions on the exam are hybrid or Agile. Okay. And my statement is always the same. No, it's 50-50. According to the PMP exam content outline, remember the policy that describes what is on the exam, the policy clearly states 50% is plan-driven, waterfall, 50% is Agile, hybrid. Okay, that's what the exam has to contain. So saying that it's 75, 85% hybrid Agile, that's not correct. It is 50-50. Now we're getting to a section that I would say good news, because when it comes to formulas and calculators, things have truly changed. Since about 2016-17, I've been telling my students formulas are getting less and less important, and this is now truly the case. Okay, very few formulas you have to be able to interpret. If an SPI is greater than 1, what does that mean? What do you do next? If the CPI is below 1, what actions do you take? Okay, that is what you have to be able to do on the PMP exam. No full math questions at all, right? Did not use the calculator for even a single question. This person here says, and then we got this one here. There are hardly 1 to 2 questions requiring calculator. Just understand the terms CPI, SPI, flow compression, fast tracking, and so on. Here is my recommendation for you. I've got to pick up the Pinboard guide again. I want you to go to page 267. This page right here, okay? This page contains a table with all the formulas. And I want you to understand and be able to apply the last column. The last column is called interpretation of results, okay? If you are able to apply this last column and say, okay, SPI equals 1, what's the interpretation of that? What does that mean for my project? You're good to go in all cases. Okay. All right. Moving on, definitions and ITTO. ITTOs. Again, about 5-6 years ago, I started to say, do not memorize the definitions. Do not memorize the ITTOs. Understand them. Have a C-level understanding of what they are, where they are needed, and what it is that they do. Okay, so, and this is also what the lessons learned are telling us. Know the definitions in the back of the PMBOK guide. There's an exhaustive list. Make sure you have a good grasp of what each of these terms mean. Okay, so this is one opinion. The next opinion from this student says, I didn't study the ITTOs at all. They're good to know from a 30,000-foot view. Don't stress over them. Okay, there might have been subtle reference to the ITTOs, but not a lot. So it continues to evolve. The PMP exam continues to evolve. When I took the exam, you really needed to be really sharp on your ITTOs. You needed to know exactly what is the definition of a work breakdown structure, almost word for word. That is no longer the case. How is a work breakdown structure used? Is it an input to when I am working on my budget? Do I need the work breakdown structure? Do I need it when I go into a purchasing meeting? That's the type of answer. That's the type of understanding, high level, that you need to have for the current PMP exam. All right, now let's get a little bit technical. Next section is about the tutorial, technology, and the room setup. And here, the next one is we actually have a question and answer. This is also from a lessons learned where somebody asked, hey, before the exam, do they give you any time to fiddle around? I love that expression, to fiddle around with the exam features before the exam starts. And the answer is you have 7 minutes to join the introduction for the exam introduction. Okay, based on that spelling and that really awkward way of phrasing it, you can see I literally copy paste these, without editing much. So yes, you have 7 minutes for a tutorial at the beginning. But more than that, recommendation is always the same. If you are doing the exam from home, there is a system check. You want to go through the system check and make sure that you pass, that your computer passes. And don't forget to turn notifications off. Do you have Slack running in the background? Skype? Anything that might pop up and interrupt your exam? You will immediately end your exam with a fail if that happens. So make sure that nothing is running in the background. Another pointer is we're all working from the home office. Do not use your work laptop for these courses. Work laptops often have really heavy-duty firewalls on them. Everything is locked down already. The Pearson VUE home exam software will not run on your work computer. You have to use your personal laptop, your personal desktop. By the way, you cannot take it on the phone. You cannot take it on a tablet. Okay, it has to be a laptop. It has to be a desktop. So mouse, keyboard, screen, that's what you need. And talking about screen, now I have a huge screen here. I have a 4K screen. God, what is this? 26, 27 inches, something like that. So about what, 50 centimeters, something like that. That's what I have here in front of me, right? But for the exam, the recommendation is this. And by the way, you'll notice that this is the first slide without any background image. This is because of what the tip is, okay? Use a small monitor. The OnView software, that's the software for taking it at home, takes over the entire screen with an all-white background. It is almost always blank, and this will burn into your retinas like 1,000 suns for 4 hours. So imagine looking at this screen that you're looking at right now for 4 hours. Full screen, just huge white background, black text in front. Okay. Next, why do you need a smaller screen? The questions are presented at the very top of the screen. Okay. They take out the whole width, right, from the left to the right. Now imagine I have, like what I said, 50, I have a huge, it's huge. I would have to read all the way from left to right, okay? And the next button is down at the lower left right corner of the screen. So you're constantly looking around on your huge screen, right? So use a smaller screen if you possibly can. Right, moving on. You cannot have any applications running in the background, right? The system will prompt you to have an application running. You have to turn it off, right? Your screen will be locked as soon as you're connected. You'll only be able to see your examination page. You cannot switch away from it. It's completely locked down. Okay. Also, don't use Wi-Fi. Use an Ethernet cable. Plug yourself into your home network. This person had a few Wi-Fi issues, last-minute Wi-Fi issues, almost failed their exam. Oh, yes, and do turn up the sensitivity on your microphone, on your computer. So fully up on your microphone so that the proctor can hear you when they talk to you. Avi has a comment here, Avi Guha. I was about to say that. Is there any way to change the simulator background to dark mode? It hurts eyes while reading questions answered at night for a long time. Avi, you're getting used to the real thing. Okay, we do at this time not have a dark mode, but I will take it in as a potential feature for the future. But like this person here says, this is the way it is. White background, black foreground. So allowing you to have a dark mode would probably be a disservice to you as a student, because you really want to be able to practice in the way that you're supposed to be practicing. But I can see that it might be helpful to do this. Okay, next, the whiteboard. Yes, in the past, when you took the PMP exam at the center, they would give you a pen, a marker, actually, a non-permanent marker, whiteboard, erase marker, and not a piece of paper. It would be a sort of a plastic laminated thing, and you could write on that, and you could make notes on that. Well, you're no longer allowed to make any notes at all. You have to use the whiteboard, and this is the recommendation here. You want to practice the whiteboard function if you think that you might need it, and for that, please go to this here. Let's see, http://pm-prepcast.com/whiteboard. Here we go. So I'm typing this once again into the chat. If you follow this link here, pm-prepcast.com/whiteboard, that is a forwarding link, takes you to the official on-view whiteboard so that you can test this. Oh, it looks like it didn't get through on Facebook. I will try posting that link again later on. Okay. So if you're on Facebook, you do not see the link that I have just posted. All right, so please do use that on-view tutorial to practice your whiteboard. Now let's talk about taking the exam. You can take the exam at home, or you could go to the testing center. What's it like? This person here, I tested at the Pearson VUE Testing Center. It was well run and friendly. My experience, exactly the same from back from 2004. Okay, so Michelle just said, no, the link came through in Facebook. So obviously the error message that I got here that said link didn't go to Facebook is incorrect. Thank you, Michelle, for confirming that. All right. Yeah, so taking it at the testing center is fine. Obviously, right now, we are still in the pandemic. You have to feel comfortable doing this, okay? If you have a good face mask, I actually purchased KN95s to make sure that I'm personally safe when I go out. So if you have good face masks, you can definitely do that. And you can go to take it at the testing center. And what the next person recommends here is take the exam in the earlier parts of the day. Okay, and this would actually be a very good recommendation for me because I am a morning person. if I took the exam like he did or she did at 5:30 in the afternoon, I would also be drained by the end. So do take the exam at the time of day when you personally are at your best. Morning person, take it in the morning. Evening person, well, take it in the later afternoon. Okay. This person here took it from home. I logged in 30 minutes prior to the exam. They text you a link to upload photos. Then I waited 15 minutes for the proctor, which was painful because you have to keep your face in the camera frame and you can't move. I never heard from the proctor after they released me to the exam. And similar lesson learned is the next one here. I was waiting for 40 minutes. 40 until they let me in to start, and you don't know whether you can exit the room while you're waiting or not because it says recording. So we now know this. You cannot leave. So once they say please wait, you have to sit like this. Don't go out of the camera. Just sit here and wait. All right, just wait patiently. One person wrote and said, I was number 84 in line, and I expected to wait forever. It only took 15 minutes. So there must be some sort of a message on the screen that says you are number X in line. That should decrease quite rapidly, right? So 84 people in front of that person, or 83 rather, only took 15 minutes until he was able, or she was able, to start the exam. All right. Follow the rules is the next tip. Do not fidget, do not mumble, do not put your hand in front of your face. This person says, I received a warning twice because of moving my hand. Right. I have a tendency to do this and read like that. No, for the PMP exam. Leave your hands out of your face. Don't scratch too often. Don't do this. Don't touch your ear. Just keep them down. Do not mumble. Do not read the questions out loud. Just relax and do not fidget. They have clearly defined rules. Read them, know them, understand them. Also, can you have something to drink on your desk? Yes, you can. Let me show you my desk right now. Oh God, this is going to be so embarrassing again. This is what my desk looks like right now. It's an absolute mess right now. There we go. And you cannot have this type of a mess during the PMP exam. You have to clean it out. It has to be completely empty. In fact, they will make you take pictures from around your areas. I have a ton of paper over there and over there. You're going to have to remove all of these, okay? So it has to be empty, clean. You can have a glass of water or a bottle of water, a clear glass of water, a clear bottle of water on your desk so you have something to drink. Black coffee in a yellow cup that you cannot see through, like we have here in the background picture, that's a no-no. It has to be water in a clear container. Okay, that's it. Do we have to during the testing center? I would say so, Avi. I cannot guarantee that this is the case about wearing a mask. Personally, if I were Pearson VUE, that would be my rule. If you come to the testing center, you're wearing a mask the whole time. Okay, you have to wear it properly over your nose and your face. So what you are doing, you know you're going to the testing center wearing the mask during your practice sessions. Perfect. Keep doing that. Tip, why don't you call your testing center? They can tell you exactly. Maybe a testing center in New Zealand is different than a testing center in Brazil. New Zealand with 0 cases at the moment, pretty open. Brazil having a really hard time. So it's probably going to be quite different in terms of what the rules are. Okay. Next, we're going to breaks and time management. Okay. In the past, what PMI did is the PMP exam was 4 hours in duration. And if you wanted to take a break, that was up to you, but you would lose that time that you would take the break. This has changed. The PMP exam is now 3 hours and 50 minutes. It's divided into 3 segments, 60 questions, break, 60 questions, break, 60 questions, end. Okay, that's the way that it is now. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Okay. Hey, you're going to the Lake Forest in testing center in Orange County. Let's see. Oh, I went to Irvine in Orange County. Okay, I did not go to Lake Forest. I went to the Irvine Orange County testing center there, Avi. Yes, they will definitely be able to tell you if this is what they are required to do. So breaks and time management. In the appointment confirmation that you get from Pearson, it shows the appointment time, which includes not only the exam time, but also the break and allowances for the check-in process. So in the email, they tell you exactly what to expect, what the timing is, how much time you have for check-in, how much sooner you need to be there, and so on. Everything is clearly laid out by Pearson VUE for you, okay? Like I said, there are 2 breaks, both at 10 minutes after question 60, and then again after question 120. Everybody says the same thing. Do not skip these breaks. Take them. When you reach question number 60 and you're ready to move on to the second segment, then you finish it, take the break, you get up, you take 9, 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, it will restart automatically, as far as I understand. Take a break, drink something, eat something, go to the bathroom, get up, walk around, calm your nerves, come back, sit down, take the next 60 questions, okay? Do not skip your breaks. And this is important to understand as well. You cannot go back, okay? So when you're in the first 60 questions, you cannot see the next 120. You are working on the first 60 questions. Then you're moving on to the second set. You cannot go back and change anything. You cannot look forward. And when you're in the third set of 60 questions, you're only working on those 60, right? The 60 questions you're working on is the only thing you see at the moment. It's very important that you manage the time on your own, okay? Many of our students are asking, why doesn't the simulator tell me when I have to take a break? Very simple. The simulator doesn't tell you when you have to take the break because the PMP exam doesn't tell you when you have to take the break. So we intentionally don't do that. We added 20 minutes to the total duration. So instead of 350 minutes, 3 hours, 50 minutes, you have like 4 hours and 10, 4 hours and 12, something like that. There's a rounding difference in our simulator that gives you 2 additional minutes, right? But the reason why we don't tell you, because you have to manage the time yourself. The system does not manage it for you. So very important. It's about 76, 77 minutes. So if you are getting close to 77 minutes on your first 60 questions, you have to speed up. You have to really get going, right? So you can submit that, okay? So you have to make sure that you do that. And you will notice, like this person here, during the practice exams, I finished with an hour left. But on the real exam, I answered my last question with 1 minute left. So expect to be losing a lot of time during the real exam, even though on your exam simulator, it's like, yeah, I always have an hour left, right? That hour is going to be your savior in the real exam because you're going to need it, that hour. Okay, so ending the exam is next here. Yeah, ending the exam. I believe there is an end exam button after the third one, but what exactly do I want to tell you? Now what? Okay, so after the exam, you click the end exam button. This is going to be the longest 10 to 12 seconds of your life. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Congratulations. Those 10 seconds are going to be agony. I can tell you that. Here's what you are not going to do. Okay? You are not going to get up. You are not going to move away. You are not going to turn. You are going to sit there and wait. You are still being monitored. You are still on camera. Okay? Don't move out of the camera. Don't get up. Don't do anything unexpected. You're still taking the exam at this point. Do not move. Wait patiently. Also, please do not reach for your phone and try to take a picture of the congratulation message on the exam. One student was failed because of that. He passed the exam. It was like, oh my God, boy, let me take a picture of this. I'm sorry, you have just failed the exam. I'm not kidding you. That is an actual lessons learned from somebody. Failed the exam because they wanted to take a picture of the message. Come on, you can print out your certificate and post it on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be a picture of the screen, okay? So wait, do not move until it is completely over and you have logged out. Extremely important, okay? Yeah, and then finally, let's talk about these two lessons learned here. First of all, take your time to carefully review each question. You need to make sure that you are keeping a decent pace answering the questions as well, right? This is true for every single examination you are going to take. Properly reading the question, understanding what is actually being asked, properly reading the answers, understanding what the available answers are, and then making the appropriate choice. That's the basis for passing the exam. If you're just sort of skimming through it, skimming through the answers, oh, I'm picking C, you're not going to pass. Okay, so this is a doozy, this is a duh. You know this, but it needs to be said. Don't rush, take your time, do what needs to be done. But keep a pace. You have 77 minutes for the first 60, 77 minutes for the next 60, and 76 for the final 60. Okay? And once again, let's get back to the fact that PMI is now doing more and more an exam that is based on real life. This exam is really about solving problems and fixing issues with people and plans. Practical applications, this person says, is definitely the name of the game. Memorization will no longer help you. Knowing all the terms will no longer help you, but understanding them from a high level. Where do they fit? How do they fit? What do I do next? How does an agile product owner act in a situation like that? What does a self-managing team do at this point? That's the kind of question that you have to expect. And now let's talk a little bit about strategies and preparing for the exam after all these lessons learned here. Okay, so strategy and training materials for the new exam. So this is for those people who have not yet started taking their exam. Here's what I want you to do. As the foundation of your exam preparation, you are going to take a PMP exam training course. You're going to find yourself a good PMP training course from a reputable source with experience. Ask your colleagues what they have taken and go for that. You will study the, you will study the PMBOK guide and you will study the APG, the Agile Practice Guide. There is no way around that. You need to know these two documents quite well. On top of that, you will study the Agile Manifesto. The Agile Manifesto takes you all of about 6 minutes to read in total. It's really that short. And you're going to study the Scrum Guide. And most importantly, now you have the theory, now you have all the theoretical knowledge that you need. You're also going to buy yourself a simulator. And you're going to apply all your experience and the theoretical knowledge here that you studied at the bottom in a simulator with hundreds and hundreds of questions. But what about those people who started last year? It is April, but we still have people who studied for the 2020 exam, didn't make it, and now they're like, oh, now I have to take the 2021 exam. What do I do? The good news is your 2020 studies are not lost. That is your foundation. Our statistics show that if you studied in 2020 and you had a reputable good source, that takes you to about 75 to 85% of the knowledge that you need to have for your 2021 exam. So you need to cover those 15, 25%. And for that, you're going to look for a booster course, an upgrade course, a gap closing course, call it what you want. And yes, I do offer that course. So if you are in this situation, please stop by at the Prepcast website. There's a link on our front page to the booster course, and you can upgrade yourself to the 2021 exam. And then it's pretty much the same thing. You want to study the PMBOK guide, the Agile practice guide, you want to read the Agile manifesto, you want to study the Scrum guide, and you're going to apply all of this to a 2021 simulator. If you have a 2020 simulator, get rid of it. The 2020 simulator that you used last year is going to make you fail your PMP exam, because the 2020 simulator does not have all the new question styles, the new question types. It doesn't have Agile in it. It doesn't have hybrid in it. It's going to teach you the wrong exam prep. Okay, you need a 2021 simulator. All right, so let me summarize. Excuse me. Let me summarize this. Look for a reputable source that has experience in teaching the PMP exam. Then take a 35-hour course for the PMP exam prep. And I'm saying here minimum. Why do I say minimum? It's very hard to teach everything that you need to know for the PMP exam in 35 hours. 35 hours was the minimum for 2020. In 2021, PMI added Agile to it. They basically doubled what you need to know. But the minimum number of hours remained at 35. So 35 training hours is the minimum. Don't expect to learn everything in 35 hours, okay? Even our 2020 course was over 60 hours in duration, right? And that included lots of Agile already back then. Okay. Then once you are done with the course, you need to probably sit down on your own and complement this with 3 to 5 weeks of self-study, just going over the material, using the simulator and all of that, right? We're now also including a coaching guidebook. So when you're done with the training, you know, what do you do now? You know, you're done with the training. How do I get from the training to the exam? We have a guidebook there. You want to study the PMBOK guide, the Agile practice guide. Those are the two most important things you want to look at. Use the exam simulator. And then I know this sounds a little bit of simplistic there, but in the end, if you've done all of that, you are going to take and pass your PMP exam. Once again, let me remind you that we do have upcoming courses for the PMP exam prep. April 17th, one is starting April 19th. And then in May, we have 3 other courses. And if you are interested in the April 17th 5-Saturday course, the April 19 1-week course, then we do currently offer a $200 discount only today. What is today? April the 14th. Tomorrow is April the 15th. So you can get a $200 discount for those 2 courses. If you are looking for an exam simulator, yes, I do have one, pmexamsimulator.com/PMP. Many people call this the Prepcast exam simulator. The official name is actually the PM exam simulator, but many people just call it the Prepcast or the Prepcast simulator. Has 2,100 PMP questions. It's also available for the PMI ACP and the CAPM question. Avi asks, generally, does everybody finish all 2,100 questions before taking the main exam? Because you said everybody, Avi, I can say no, not everybody does. I would not expect more than about 25% of people to take it. My recommendation is always this. Don't look at how many questions you have answered in total. Look at your actual statistics. In our simulator, if on average you answer the question correctly 75% of the time, you are good to go. That's the first time answering a question correctly. 75% on average, you are, statistically speaking, ready to go for the PMP exam. Doesn't matter if you answered 300 or 3,000, the number, the percentage that you get correct is more important than the actual number of questions you are answering. Yes, and with that, we have come to the end of this very long podcast episode. Thank you so much for joining me today here in the live stream, or thank you so much for listening to or watching the recording. Again, a little late maybe if you're at this point, but this is a video episode, and a video is available for you to watch as well. Please visit pm-podcast.com for show notes, transcripts, PDU information, and our email address is info@pm-podcast.com. And finally, we have this once again, because this is a video episode, we have a meme about project management, and this time we have a meme with Dr. Evil from the Austin Power movies. Obviously, this is the actor Mike Myers, who says something that I believe all project managers have experienced from their sponsors, from their customers. And he says, well, we will ask for estimates, and then we'll treat them as deadlines. Evil laugh. Sorry, I can't do an evil laugh. And with that, thank you so much once again for joining me. Until next time.